What is up, everyone? Today I'm going to be kind of talking about Izaw's Why Steve Might Be the Worst Character in the Game video. I've had a lot of requests to talk about this, considering my opinion of Steve is fairly high compared to most. So I want to listen to the video, talk about if his points are valid, and then critique them if, in my opinion, at the very least, they aren't. So let's go.
Now, let me just say, I can understand that at low level, mid level, and even high level, this character might seem like a mid tier or even possibly high tier with all the potential that he has. However, at top level, where things like neutral, pressure, a strong advantage state, and consistency is valued the most, as well as close to mastered, Steve falls into the category of bottom tier. At least for me, in my opinion. But
So first off, arguably a top 50 player in the world, and Aaron has been having a lot of success with this character. At least a decent amount. Obviously, it's Wi-Fi, or like online. But it's not, like, I don't know. There's something about saying, like, top level that bothers me, especially, what's Izaw ranked in his, with all due respect. Let's continue. Because I think Steve is good, and I think a lot of really good players think Steve is, like, pretty good.
first of all, his neutral is non-existent, and by far the worst neutral in the game.
That's not-
by a long shot.
That's so not true. How is a character that forces people to approach automatically a bad neutral? You can't just run at him. Or, like, you can't just not run. Like, you don't force Steve to run at you because he just mines and gets material. So, like, that's not true.
He barely has any kind of pressure whatsoever. His mobility is some of the worst in the game, having some of the slowest ground game, low air mobility, no projectiles.
That's true.
He has no range. So little range, in fact, that even a character such as Mario outranges him. His aggression is so terrible that most of the time he is forced mining and waiting for the opponent to make an obvious and rushed approach to get anything at all.
He died from that, that's
Sometimes,
crazy.
even when the approach is obvious, there's nothing that can be done. At the same time, the majority of characters all have good pressure without needing to commit to a punishable approach. Hell, even an average character with below average pressure still completely outpressures Steve. And in a top competitive environment, there is almost nothing Steve can really do.
But yeah, no, definitely. Steve's neutral is pretty good. Also, having a move where you can just, like, run up, jab, and, like, back off is actually very strong, and his frame data is a lot better than I expected. Again, if you get up to someone and can run up tilt, that's great. And, like, if you push someone towards the corner because they have to, like, play passive against you, then, like, suddenly they don't have room to go backwards. Yeah, they can jump over you, sure, but also being above Steve is really bad because of up smash and up tilt. And, again, if you're just blatantly running away from him the entire time, you just mine. And that, like, you just keep mining. So
Meaning Steve cannot deal with any kind of good pressure, which in return also means that he has a terrible defensive game, making mining and everything else so much harder.
I disagree.
The only way of truly pressuring a neutral is with landed pickaxe, forward air, and back air, but it has such low range that it'll be optimistic at best hitting shields with it. And even when you hit the move, which is optimistic
crazy.
to hit to begin with, you'll only get stray hits, no combos. And by the way, his pickaxe pressure in some matchups isn't even safe at all. You might think that down tilt is a good pressure move, but realistically you'll never hit this move in neutral, and even if you do hit a shield for whatever reason, every single character can simply jump out of it mid-shield pressure, and a ton of characters can punish Steve before he can act. Not to mention, it's a...
Please pause. See, that I didn't actually know until somewhat recently, that you could jump out of down tilt, so that is true. That part, the down tilt part's 100% true. That move actually sucks, except for off ledge. So that's true. Like, since you can jump between the hits, like, that move's bad. At least, like, aggressively.
extremely easy to jump over
So that's fair.
Steve for using it at all. Now, because of his low range and mobility, there's actually no reason to even shield against Steve, almost ever. Instead, you can always dash out and in of burst range against Steve and be a threat. Or you'll be jumping and using safe landed aerials against him that outspace him. Or you'll be using projectiles that he just can't deal with. You basically don't ever have to approach Steve. You can always just stick without pressuring him and outranging him, or be a threat at that burst range where he can't react to whatever you might do, and has to instead now try to preemptively calling you out. Problem is, when he tries to call you out with pivot grab or aerials, it's whiff punishable, and if he calls you out with dash attack, it's just a stray hit. No combo, no real advantage state. With dash attack, it's just a stray hit. No combo, no real advantage state.
He has a hell of an advantage state. I don't know what he's talking about. Listen, part of this, again, is true. Like, if you are not paying enough attention and not shielding a lot while you're mining, it can be kind of annoying to play Steve defensively. But also, if you learn how to use blocks and you just have like block, 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 like I saw Spargo do it recently, where he just like puts up 3 blocks and just mines behind it. Because again, getting things like gold and iron, or not, well, gold for pickaxe, diamond pickaxe, even stone pickaxe, and then of course having like options of minecart and down air is going to make your options a lot better, because he does a lot of damage. I don't know what he's talking about with the no combos that he mentioned, because he definitely does have a lot of combos. Obviously, that's one of the best parts about Steve, is he hits a single, like, landed forward air, and or just, like, a jab, and he deals a ton of damage, or you up-tilt him, and, like, he just climbs to the top. Oh yeah, Salem won FPS 2 with Steve mostly, right? Like, it's so good to be patient and mine, and then get your materials, and then now you're going to be killing at 60. You don't have to, like, string people all the time. Also, he does have range. He has swords. He's a sword character. Like, again, did he show the back air being punished by F-tilt by Falco? Yeah. But also, Salem 6-0'd Meister? Are you serious? With Steve or Hero? But also he has minecart as a projectile, so like that's not exactly true either. Like, he does not like a spammable projectile, so I know what he meant. Like, this is not true. This is just like he's not playing patiently enough, or doesn't deal with projectiles well enough, because you definitely can.
Some extra space to mine most of the time. Here's something important to understand at top level. Even if you get dash attacked 7 times by Steve during one stock, the damage you took is so minimal that it barely matters. Not being put into a horrible disadvantage state is much more important. Did you really win neutral if all you get is some minimal damage and a bit of time to mine for materials?
Yes. Yes, 100%. If you get materials as Steve, that means you get your win conditions. Diamond is a win condition. Also, you don't have to just back up and mine. If you hit someone off stage, if you get a dash attack, you can just edgeguard people, or attempt to ledge trap people, or do something. You don't have to just back up and mine. You can, I do, but you don't have to by any means. So, no.
No, not really. Not at top level at least. It is beyond underwhelming. On top of this, getting grabbed at above 30% won't be a big deal at all anymore. So, if dash attack is the only thing that you'll accept getting hit by, which isn't a big deal, because you refuse to get grabbed, down tilted, or hit by low range aerials, what's left?
Getting grabbed at above 30 doesn't really matter, but getting forward thrown off stage and put low is really bad, because Steve has one of the best low edge guards in the game with down tilt and like just block in general, and down smash for 2 framing and like that. Like, those are big deals. Like, those are really big deals. So having, like, saying that it's just like it doesn't matter is just blatantly not true. And again, this is someone, it's not just like I'm theory crafting, right? Like, I played against Aaron. I watched some Steve VODs. I didn't really watch FPS, so I have to watch Salem now. But, like, no. Like, that's not true. He has spikes. He has definitely super strong kill options. He has minecart to help steal people down and, like, make them fall and die. Like, this isn't correct. Does Steve have bad matchups? Yeah, for sure. I definitely think Steve does poorly versus, like, Zero Suit, probably Greninja, because they just run circles around him. Characters that are incredibly fast and really high mobility in the air probably do very well versus Steve. And that's, like, just my concept, right? Like, that's my opinion. But if you don't, like, oh, a couple bad matchups are going to exist for every character. Literally every character in this game at least loses 2 to 4 matchups. Like, every single one. Because, like, while I think Pikachu loses 2, you can have other people argue that Pikachu loses 4 or 5, right? Like, you just are better. And you start parrying and you start up smashing. And he hits you and can deal so much damage. And, like, oh, we'll just get hit by dash attack. It's like, what if he runs up jabs?
Up tilt, too low range. Jab, too low range. And especially if you know how to pressure shield correctly, Steve won't ever get his out of shield aerials to start anything either. And a lot of the time, even after parrying, he won't get anything started. If he tries, he gets punished. And even when he actually hits you with his out of shield aerial, the majority of the time it won't combo as you are spacing away from him anyway, so you DI away from the combo. So the only thing that is left is cart. Now at first, sure, the cart will be annoying since as you are spacing away from him anyway.
But if you parry, you can get things like parry jab, parry down tilt, which leads into grab at low percents, parry down smash, parry grab. Although, like, again, grab's not a combo thing, so I'll agree with that. But, like, There are definitely plenty of good options out of parry. He just is not doing them. Parry up tilt.
So you DI away from the combo. So the only thing that is left is cart.
Cart's
now,
busted.
at first, sure, the cart will be annoying since it's a new-ish mechanic that you'll have to understand how to counterplay, but once you do, you'll realize that the cart isn't that good to begin with. Not to mention, it's
Cart's the best side B in the game.
easily reactable and can be avoided pretty safely by jumping away from it, and Steve will still have trouble anti-airing you if you just space yourself correctly. And for some...
So again, to that point, jump backwards is pretty good versus cart. But then you're putting yourself at the ledge, and Steve's ledge trapping is very strong. Like, very strong. So, and also he's like, you have trouble anti-airing. It's like, yeah, you have trouble anti-airing in front of you. But then again, you just push someone to the ledge, and then now they don't have all the room that you need to have to, like, play neutral against Steve, unless you have, again, really good air mobility, or, like, an escape option like quick attack, or flip jump, or something like that.
context, here's a short segment from the How to Steve explaining how you simply outplay the cart. Once you hit a shield while riding into an opponent, you can also jump off of it, which can let you catch the opponent as well. The counterplay could be to spot dodge right after, but there is still a chance that Steve can read this and punish this, and
Correct.
so the actual counterplay should always be to roll behind it as soon as it hits your shield, as there's nothing that can be done about it. When you hit a shield and then jump, you and the opponent will be able to act at the exact same frame. However, when Steve jumps, he will be stuck for 5 frames, as well as his air dodge comes out of frame 4, and his jab coming out of frame 3. So he's basically punishable for 8 to 9 frames when he does this. Just keep in mind that you won't be able to short hop buffer an aerial as it'll still catch you, but most characters will still be able to punish Steve for doing this if you just have a fast enough option.
Oh, that's
and
busted!
It's not like this can be spammed, as it costs a lot of resources, as well as Steve is generally vulnerable while riding it. Something else is that the minecart only has 7 HP and can be easily destroyed. At 0%, Steve will roughly have 15% heavy armor, but even at 40% he can already get hit by moves under 7% damage. If you just simply try jumping, you might get anti-aired, but obviously you could also jump away from it too, which should be just fine. So,
like, I don't know, like, you're anticipating, like, with that, you're anticipating the Steve to just be super aggressive when a lot of times Steves go like, cart, oh, that didn't work, jump backwards, mine, like, Bill blocks mine. So, like, yeah, you can just jump over cart, but again, like, he's explaining this, like, in a way that every character can sound bad, which is a problem, right? Like, sure, I'll do Pika, this is fine. So, yeah, when you play against Pikachu, you have to remember to parry his Thunder Jolt, because parrying the Thunder Jolt allows you small amounts of invincibility, and Pikachu has no true follow-ups. Of course, he can read your option afterwards, but a lot of the times the risk-reward with the range that Pikachu has is not going to be effective. Also, a very common thing that Pikachus like to do is quick attack away from the ledge. So if Pikachu grabs the ledge, what you can do is dash backwards, anticipate the quick attack, parry the second hit of quick attack, and you can get a true punish, just like Charizard Flare Blitz. He has a lot of lag after, so it's very important for you to parry that hit, and you have a lot of lag. Pikachu does not have a lot of range as a character, so you can a lot of the times jump backwards and swat him out of the air. If you dash backwards versus Pikachu's approaching aerials, even when he has a Thunder Jolt, it will be fairly difficult to actually get a hit, as Pikachu, as most characters, have more range than him and more air mobility. Did I say parry Flare Blitz? Fuck. Also, something to help you react against Pikachu is the fact that you can always look at the arrows of his quick attack to see where he is going to go, so realistically, in disadvantage, it is going to be not that great, since you can react to where Pikachu is going earlier than when he actually starts moving. You listen to Mars talk about Zeus, you can downplay any character. And I'm not making fun of his name, or how he talks, obviously, I'm just trying to be like him. Having like an option that isn't just like instant win is still good. Like, minecart is still a very good move because it is a projectile. Like, yeah, can you hit it? Sure. But like, that's not exactly easy, especially considering you kind of, like, if you react to minecart and hit it, you're pretty damn godlike, not gonna lie. Because he can always just minecart jump out. So if you minecart and then you try to hit the minecart, he jumps out, then he landing fares you, and then he just jab fares you and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, let's say you've gotten pretty good at the Steve matchup now, and almost never get hit by the cart. His aerials never really get to hit you, his out-of-shield options aren't punishing you because you've mastered your character's movement, spacing, and pressure, and his jab, up tilt and down tilt combo starters are even harder to hit. Then you're basically left playing against dash attack or random grabs, both punishable, easy to jump and wall out, and give low reward anyway, assuming you don't get grabbed at starting percent. Now you might be thinking, what about his up smash? It's a big and decent anti-air. But it's not. In fact, it's extremely committal, and if you know how to fast fall with neutral air dodge, which by the way is extremely rare for players below high level play to know about this option, then you'll easily get past it and hard punish Steve.
Yes, fast fall air dodge is a good option versus up smash, but the point is, you wait. If you are the Steve player, you wait, and if you are fast fall air dodging into him, that's when you start getting forward smashed. There are multiple layers, like fast fall air dodge is really good versus any anti-air move. But you know what? People hit them. At top level, everyone hits fast fall air dodges because that's like one of the best options at disadvantage that's universal. Everyone hits fast fall air dodges because they're obvious. And you go like short hop aerial, landing, or like short hop aerial, land, grab, land, do something. Like no. Like that's not true. That's just straight up not true. Or you just charge the up smash longer and then get the scoop hitbox and kill him. Or you down smash. Like you can't just you're not reacting to up smash. Up smash is frame 7. Like it is literally impossible to react under any circumstance. Like, yeah, of course doing a really early up smash against someone is bad. But you do this typically if someone uses an aerial. Like someone's like jumping and then landing nair. And then you go, okay, cool, up smash. Or it's like, I'm gonna do this thing, up smash. It doesn't matter. You don't do it just out of the blue. Like, no. That's literally just not true.
Not to mention that some attacks even beat this move anyway.
I hate that argument. That argument of like, some things beat the move doesn't make the move bad. It makes the move worse in certain matchups. Like, I remember like talking to Meister about Game & Watch up air, which I think is the best up air in the game, right? Because it's like super low committal, it's a projectile that you can't really ping with. He's like, oh, well, like Palu Nair, Ivy Nair, and like a couple other moves get through it, so it's not that good. I'm like, no, it's not that good in that matchup. There's a difference between it not being good, period, and not being good in certain matchups. And also, a lot of the times, let's say for the Game Watch Upper example, they use a move to get through up air, and then you punish them for doing the move. That's kind of the point. So again, does Nair and stuff go through? Yeah, for sure. But is that actually a super bad thing? No. It just means, oh, this matchup's kind of weird.
The only time you'll ever hit the up smash is against predictable jumps into you. In other words, rushed or careless approaches, which will almost never happen at top level play.
Lol, that was fine.
If you think mining forces any kind of approaches from any character, then I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It doesn't, and it won't, at least at top level, because I can imagine that anything below that level, approaching, spacing, and pressuring is a bit of a rougher concept. So, neutral is clearly the worst in the game. Now, you might say, but this is what...
Damn, this video has 8 minutes left. He's talked about everything. So again, that's just not true. Mining forces a lot, because again, having diamond is scary because suddenly you're taking 50% from any single hit, and also you're dying at 50 to forward smash, especially if you're going to just fast fall air dodge through his aerial pressure because you're scared of up smash. So no, not at all. Like, he's literally wrong. He's literally 100% wrong. Mining is important because the more iron he has, the more you have to respect his disadvantage, and his recovery gets a lot better. The higher, the higher tier, like, weapons are really important. Really important. And again, some of the stuff he says is true. Camping this character is good if you can play in that burst range where he's not comfortable mining at all. But that's not gonna happen a lot. Like, it's not. Like Wario can circle camp Steve all the time, says someone in chat. It's like, yeah, Wario circle camps everyone.
Say, but this is why he has to mine, so that he becomes stronger. Well, sadly, half of the cast won't care, as they either have projectiles good enough, his speed and mobility, or the range to not let it happen.
Like, what the fuck is this
Projectiles?
Who is... Okay, if this is Izal playing Steve, I don't know who it is, because it says Izal and Izal Smash, so I don't know who it's playing. But, like, he's literally just spamming minecart randomly in neutral instead of... You can, as Steve, play in the unreactable burst range of dash jab. Or just walk up jab. Like, that's a thing you can do. And yeah, is that the neutral mix-up? Sure. But again, Steve gets so much damage off of every neutral interaction, especially in this matchup with Fox. Like, let's say he reads Fox doing a dash attack, so he shields it. And then he turns around and jabs him for 50% and then edge guards him. Because he goes jab, 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 down smash. So, no. And again, granted, I think Steve might be better online because lag, not being able to react to things definitely, makes this character better, like, especially minecart. And I'm not going to lie.
Or the range to not let it happen. And even if you let it happen, Steve is going to get a somewhat better weapon and a stronger and faster minecart, which he'll barely be hitting with anyway. So, did he really get better?
Yes, he gets way better. He's still wrong. Like, you can't just be like, I'm going to just outrange this character that doesn't have a lot of range, when you still have your ground options like spot dodge, roll, you have, again, run up, you have parrying. Like, you can't just landing aerial this character because he's going to parry dash jab. Like, no, this just isn't true. Like, yeah, mobility is really good versus this character, and I'm not going to lie. Like, that's true, that is true, but that doesn't invalidate the character. That doesn't make him anywhere near as bad as the bottom 7 characters in this game who have arguably worse mobility and, at the same time, not nearly the amount of strength that Steve has.
Not to mention that the weapons can break, and on top of this, the weapons go back to wood as soon as he dies, which most likely, as he's been trying to shake off the opponent with the cart and dash attack, and mine and create blocks to create some time, and mine some more, he's most likely going to get the diamond sword when he's already at mid or high percents, as a low weight.
Just wait until your next stock, and then you have diamond for the whole stock, and diamond takes forever to break.
So is it really worth it? And on top of this, Steve will most likely be cornering himself more than half of the time while setting up blocks and mining, so the risk of death is even bigger, and so you're putting yourself at a disadvantage immediately in a top level environment. The only way Steve actually wins interactions effectively is if the opponent mindlessly rushes to stop Steve from mining frantically, hitting blocks impatiently and forcing their way in. But there's no real reason to. The character's neutral and game plan to top level play becomes...
What do you mean there's no reason to approach Steve? Getting better weapons is a huge deal, and he doesn't think so. That's just wrong. That's just straight up wrong. Like, if you are being patient against Steve, Steve can be equally patient against you and just stock up on shit. Like, just camp Steve doesn't work, again, unless you are a high mobility character. If you're someone like Lucina, you can't just camp Steve. That's not gonna work.
It's extremely flawed. You're supposed to set up blocks, mine, and
like
keep the opponent out, but most characters can deal with blocks easily, not let you mine, nor craft in peace, nor can you hit them away to do any of it.
That's not true. Most characters can't deal with blocks at all. There are a lot of different block setups for a lot of different characters, because if you have to jump over a block, that's when you get up smashed. Oh wait, sorry, fast fall, air dodge. So that's when you get forward smashed. Like, this is just... I'm trying to be very objective about this because I don't dislike Aiza, and I like his content, or I like what he does with his content. It's not content for me, so like, I enjoy the type of content he puts out. But just like, he's just making everything seem so easy when it's not. You can't just perfectly choose your option in neutral all the time. It's just like, that doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It never works like that. Do I think tournament players are taking this advice? Yeah, and then Salem still wins. Like, you can't just react perfectly to everything all the time. It doesn't, like, and I'm saying this as someone that is very much, or at least was much so, in the tier of, like, let's say in Smash 4, I was like, Zero Suit's overrated because you can just react to grab. Because the only thing she wants to do ever on the ground is grab you. So if she ever is on the ground, you shield, or you shield and spot dodge, and then if she jumps, you perfect shield her, or power shield her landing aerials, and then you hit her for it. And I had a really good record versus the Zero Suits, so I knew what I was talking about. But you can't just react to a bunch of different ground options, a bunch of different air options, and you're cornering yourself by trying to avoid these neutral interactions, so you're not going to have the corner, you know? Like, you can't just suddenly run away from him all the time because he can anti-air you, he can air-to-air you. If he parries a landing aerial because you try to jump over him and he runs with you, and then he parries and goes up tilt, you're going to take 60%. Like, yeah, just perfectly read your opponent all the time, and Steve's the worst character in the game. That's the case with anyone. You can always just win, just pick the right option. But you can't do that unless you can consistently react to every single option he has, which is not possible.
even if you manage, you're mining for essentially a minimal upgrade, if even at all. In neutral, no matter how you set up your blocks, you're essentially only...
What the fuck was that option? Why would you do that?
Upgrade, if even at all. In neutral, no matter how you set up your block...
Like, run up shield. Run up shield, it's a Greninja. It's a Greninja, you're supposed to shield. If they grab, they grab. But then you shield that forward air and then up smash them and they die.
You're essentially only stalling for the inevitable. I've personally even let the opponent mine and get everything they needed to see if it was any different if Steve didn't need to mine at all, nor think about managing his materials. And as it turns out, the character gets destroyed and outplayed almost equally as much. And as soon as he spends his carts and blocks and his iron because of down air and so on, eventually he still runs out of materials and inevitably dies, only to need to go back to setting up more blocks and mine. But oh wait, you need to hit the opponent first, which barely works, so it doesn't work at top level play. If you are
like, if this is what he thinks top level play is, no offense, you don't know what top level play is. This video, none of the gameplay shown has been top level. None of it. Absolutely zero. Like, no. Like, they're just randomly doing shit in neutral that doesn't look good. He's randomly just like, I'm gonna side B. Like, yeah, cart's good. But, like, no. Stop. Like, oh my god, you have to actually play the video game. Like, if you always are going to perfectly space around everything Steve does, yeah, you got it. But that's not feasible, especially when you need to, as his opponent, ever whiff punish or have offense, which how are you going to whiff punish things like landing back here? Like, that shit's hard. Unless you're going to perfectly preemptively space it and stand there and wait. But in that case, that's the Steve's fault for doing a stupid, shitty option.
Basing how hard or easy matchups are based on how well they deal with blocks or TNT to prevent you from mining, that you're missing the big picture point. Now, in theory, creating blocks to prevent edgeguarding is really good, but in practice, Steve won't be abusing.
Why would you? There's no reason to card here.
Creating blocks to prevent edgeguarding is really good, but
there's no reason to use minecart here.
Edgeguarding is really good, but in practice, Steve won't be abusing this as much or as effectively as theorized. Not only do you have to get rid of all of your dirt and wood blocks first, but even then it's a pain to get stone or iron, get the right launch angle, the right block placement, and a majority of characters have a way to work around it anyway. Sure, it might happen from time to time, but in other words, it's inconsistent. Going off stage with an aerial to edgeguard is most of the time going to be more consistent.
Stop randomly carding in neutral, I swear! Oh my god, I'm going crazy.
Now, you might be saying, but Izza, the character is complex and needs more time to develop. And yeah, you're right, he does need time. But it's not hard to tell pretty early on if a character has a capable playstyle. A character needs a strong, basic foundation. No character can purely rely on gimmicks, and most of the time, the biggest development that requires time is his combo game. But if he can't win neutral, then the character is still not going to benefit much.
That was a terrible
I mention this, but on top of his neutral being the worst in the game, his disadvantage state is also terrible. Not only is he a lightweight character...
So a character that has a downer that kills you at 60 that you have to respect if he has iron and can just constantly just fall backwards as a disadvantage tool has the worst, or as a really, really bad disadvantage, even though he also has access to fast fall air dodge and minecart. He has just literally more options than the majority of the cast. No.
For whatever reason and dies extremely early, but his supposedly flexible disadvantage state options aren't even that flexible, nor good. Blocks and
like, why would you do this? Okay, so he blocks here, and then fast fall, and now you're on the ground.
Nor good. Blocks and disadvantage will barely help. It'll mix things.
It literally just helped. He got down.
Up occasionally, but almost all characters can easily hit Steve, creating a
shield
block
on the
standing on it anywhere on stage. So most of the time, creating a block and disadvantage is a big risk, and you're more than likely going to get hit, which you can't really afford being a low weight. His cart and up B are super vulnerable. There's almost no reason.
No, it's not actually against the computer. This is just training mode.
Top of everything also be countered at the start of it, and even when at ledge, his ledge options are below average to make it back. Down air is decent at best in a few matchups, but most characters can beat it with their own attacks, or just dodge it and still catch him landing, so it's not a big deal unless you rush against him without needing to or being able to.
Like, those are just terrible down airs. Those are just terrible down airs.
Hands-free jukebox. Nest Audio from Google.
Like, yeah, you can punish that.
Alright, so
Thank you, False Positron, for the Prime. I appreciate it. Welcome to the EFAM. Everyone spam some emotes in chat. False Positron, I would appreciate it. Yeah.
to or being able to. Alright, so what is Steve's strength? Combos. Scary looking ones too when seen
Oh
in
shit,
training
that was
mode.
crazy.
Is Steve's strength. Combos. Scary looking ones too when seen in training mode. But they're all super specific, and they all start at close range. The worst part is that you can SDI all of the combos, which break them pretty heavily, and is a bit
SDI against
more
combos is
if
good.
other
That's correct. SDI against Steve is very, very important. But again, you can just do simpler combos that only do 40. Or again, the forward loops are a lot harder to SDI and stuff, so...
potential strength is TNT at ledge, which honestly isn't that bad, but it's also a bit of a gamble, meaning it's somewhat inconsistent. What about his corner pressure? Well, because of his awful jump height and mobility, a majority of characters can recover high pretty safely, or just jump, double jump, and get around him and claim the middle. So to me, and many other players, this seems like he's kind of a low tier now. But there are more reasons as to why I think he might be the worst. His matchup spread seems to be the worst in the game.
That's not true. He definitely wins at least 2 matchups on like Ganon and
All the
Ganon.
sub-characters outrange him, as well as some are way faster than him. Close range fighters will usually have good mobility and pressure to outmaneuver him, and even projectiles, making some matchups almost unhittable. And projectile campers in general will be a pain to deal with.
Like, I don't know. I can't agree with someone saying that his camping is bad and also his offense is bad. Like, if you're forcing someone to approach, that's good. If you are running away and forcing close range characters to approach, and then you have good out of shield options, which he does, especially if there's a fucking block in the way, like, that's good. Like, that's a good thing. Like, yeah, is his offensive neutral great? No, not necessarily. But also, the majority of characters in this game have bad offensive neutral. Like, everyone just kind of short hop landing aerials. There are very few characters that have really good falling and rising aerials. In fact, there are very few characters that have good rising aerials in general that aren't punishable. That's why Pikachu's forward is busted.
As they won't care what kind of upgrade you'll get after all the mining. Not only does a hero have a longer and better sword, his side special completely outranges Steve. Not only does a hero...
Like, just oh, yeah, so you spaced your move and the opponent still went for an out of shield option. That just means you messed up, instead of just dashing forward and creating pressure. Like, there's no reason here...
As they won't care what kind of upgrade you'll get after all the mining. Not only does a hero have a...
In that situation, in this one right here...
care what kind of upgrade you'll get after all the mining.
This situation...
Not only does
dash jab. Dash jab. We'll beat that. Like, again, if you perfectly read your opponent's options and your opponent picks shitty options, like jump forward air or jump out of shield thing on a spaced aerial, obviously, which is not going to hit, then yeah, it's bad. But that's just bad play.
the hero will have a longer and better sword. His side special completely
like, that's
outranges
his fault.
and goes through blocks. He has enough space to always get his level 3 neutral B. He gets to power up with any of his power-ups. Use any of his spells almost whenever he wants. Bounce is a pain to deal with as you can't down air. TNT.
I'm not saying dash jab is like a guaranteed punish, but like I'm saying if someone hits your shield with a safe option, the correct thing to do isn't always do an out of shield option.
Down smash, down throw, and even minecart won't work.
That's funny.
There's no way to deal with Zoom, and with Acceleratle, he becomes the most mobile character in the game. Not to mention random.
Why is he going so hard on just hero?
That kill in one hit. So you're dealing with Armageddon. Min Min has superior mobility.
This matchup is not fun. This matchup's not fun at all. I don't like this matchup. This matchup's either even or probably slight, or like maybe slight Steve favor.
Plus the best range in the game, as well as she's faster overall. Outranges him, is safe against shield, and can keep him out with punches for days, as hitting a block and hitting Steve is as simple as mashing. There's no answer against her up B escape. Her up smash reflects down air.
I should play against Aiza. I don't play Steve.
And cart, and punishes him out of shield.
Like, this matchup when I played Aaron was not fun at all. And again, if you're going to perfectly get every single option correctly, then yeah, this matchup sucks. But no.
Even when he tries jumping out of it. And she
That's
has a ton of
hilarious.
recovery, so blocks are useless, but good luck ever hitting her anyway. and so on and so on. Almost all characters can take hard advantage of him if they just know the matchup and keep abusing his weaknesses. Basically, almost all characters in...
Like, God forbid you, as a player that has a bunch of experience, is better than the people who are playing a DLC character for the first week. Remember when Leo got 33rd at a tournament because he just picked up Joker? Also, they're only getting better online for the most part.
in this game can outcamp Steve and move circles around him at top level if they just keep jumping and land with safe aerials into more jump away or dash.
Like, you can't just land with safe aerials against, like, if that's going to be your entirety of the gameplay, then you just get parried a lot. That's why Ike isn't super good anymore, because people just parry his aerials.
Away and patiently keep it up. If they get cornered, it won't be hard to get into the middle either, as Steve will have a hard time catching them anyway. And if they know the matchup and never get hit by the cart, Steve is locked to perfect shield gaming and dash attack mostly. It's sad to say, but this character will need some big buffs to be a good character at top level. Now again, at low level, mid level, potentially high level, I understand that you think there is potential and that he might be a mid tier, but not at top level for all of these reasons. Now, it doesn't mean that Steve won't be able to win a few games here and there in tournament, or even potentially have a good run once in a while. Luckily, this is Ultimate, not Brawl or Smash 4, and a bad character isn't completely unviable. A bad character is still pretty good, and even the worst character in this game can do decently. So, yes, from time to time you'll see some amazing plays, and amazing players doing amazing things with Steve. This wasn't a video to hate on Steve. It was to express why this character needs buffs or a rework to actually be good. You can disagree with me all you want, but I won't be spending time arguing in the comments. But if you want to ask me genuine questions...
I respect him being like, that's my opinion. But, like, I don't know, man. A lot of that was just... He just thinks that mining and getting your good weapons is not useful. Even though, like, it obviously is. And half of the time that you see people get hit in that video, it's bad. They're just doing bad options. Like bad side Bs, bad down airs. I totally get just like some characters can camp him, for sure. 100%. Because that's true. That's why literally before the character came out and I saw his kit, even when I thought he was like busted, which I don't anymore, I was like, oh, Zerasu probably beats that character. Pikachu probably beats that character. I can see Greninja probably beating this character. Like, just high mobility characters. But not every character's high mobility. Like, he's at worst the middle of the cast. Like, 45. But also, to me, 45 is almost high tier. But I think Steve is, like, top 25-ish. Top 30, maybe. I would have to look at characters again. Because there's a lot of good characters in this game. But, I don't know. Like, he literally just was like, yeah, weapons don't matter. Like, Aaron came back on me so many times because he just had Diamond. Like, yeah, just getting Arsene is not a big deal. Because you're going to get it at 120. It's like, just wait till the next stock and you have your Diamond for an entire stock. Anywho, that is going to be it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know who you agree with more in the comments. I'm just curious. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time.